So let's be honest. Have you ever tried reading those genealogies in Genesis? You know the ones, name after name, age after age. It feels like it goes on forever, right? But what if I told you that hidden inside what looks like the world's most boring family tree is actually one of the most dramatic stories ever told? A story about life, death, and this tiny, incredible glimmer of hope. All right, let's get into it.
See, these ancient lists, in Hebrew they're called toledot, which means generations, they're not just some dusty old records. No way. They are these beautifully crafted narratives. I mean, they're intentionally designed to tell a much, much bigger story. It's the story of all of us, really. Our journey from this perfect start to a world that's, well, teetering on the edge of total disaster.
So we're going to break this whole story down into 5 acts. First up, we'll look at the original blueprint for humanity. Then we'll see this long shadow of death fall over everything. After that comes the twist, an interrupted pattern. Then we'll find some hope hidden in a name. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together in an act of grace.
All right, Act 1, the original blueprint. This is where the story kicks off. And you gotta understand, humanity's starting point, it couldn't have been any higher. I mean, we're talking made in the very image of God. Designed for life, for relationship, for blessing. The original plan was literally perfection. But yeah, as we all know, that perfection, it didn't last. And that, of course, brings us to Act 2, the long shadow of death. Because after the fall, this devastating consequence enters the picture, and a really grim, really repetitive pattern starts to emerge.
I mean, just look at these lifespans. They're staggering, right? We're talking hundreds and hundreds of years. The author is doing this on purpose. He wants you to see these insane numbers and feel the weight of all that potential. But then, just when you're taking it all in, he pulls the rug right out from under you, because it doesn't matter how long they lived. Every single one of these lives ended the exact same way. It's this simple 3-word phrase that just becomes the drumbeat for this whole section of the story. It's this somber, repeating line that hammers home the final reality for every single generation. It's like a bell tolling, just over and over and over again. It all starts with the first man, Adam, lived 930 years, and he died. Then his son, Seth, lived 912 years, and he died. And his son, Enosh, lived 905 years, and he died. You see the pattern, right? It just goes on and on. A long life, sons and daughters, hundreds of years, and then the end. Death is the undisputed champion here. And that brings us to Act 3, an interrupted pattern. Because just when the story feels totally, hopelessly bleak, the author does something you just don't see coming. He completely breaks his own rhythm. It's like the whole narrative just pauses, and it asks, but what if one life broke the pattern? I mean, after 6 generations of the exact same grim ending, could there possibly be an exception? Well, the answer comes in the 7th generation, with a guy named Enoch. And you can see the break so clearly here. On one side, you've got that grim formula we've heard over and over. Lived, had children, and he died. But then you look at Enoch's story. It starts totally different. Not lived, but walked with God. And the ending? It's a complete departure. It's not, and he died. It's this beautiful, mysterious phrase, and he was not, for God took him. So what does that even mean, that he walked with God? Well, it's pointing to a life of incredible faith, of real fellowship, and an intimacy with his Creator that was just so profound. It actually broke through the curse of death that had a grip on everyone else. Enoch's life, it's like the very first crack of light in all that darkness. It's the first hint that maybe, just maybe, death doesn't get the final say. And this little glimmer of hope, it keeps going in Act 4, a name of hope. Now the clues are getting even more obvious, and they're hidden right in plain sight, in the names of the next few generations. Okay, so Enoch's son was named Methuselah. And get this, his name is basically a prophecy. In Hebrew, it means something like, when he dies, it shall be sent. His entire life was literally a ticking clock, a countdown to God's judgment on a world that had gone completely off the rails, a countdown to the Great Flood. And this is the brilliant part. Methuselah lives to be 969 years old. That's longer than anyone else in the whole Bible. And his super long life, it's actually an act of incredible mercy from God, giving humanity all this extra time to turn things around. But the very year he finally dies, That's the year the flood comes. The prophecy is fulfilled, right on schedule. But here's the thing. Right after this name that screams judgment is coming, we get a name that's all about promise. Methuselah's grandson is named Noah, and his name, in total contrast to that coming storm, means rest or comfort. And his dad, Lamech, he spells it right out. He says, "This one will comfort us from the cursed ground." So that little flicker of hope that started with Enoch's walk, it's now attached to a specific person who's literally prophesied to bring relief from the very curse that kicked off this whole cycle of death in the first place. And all of this leads us right to our final act, Act 5, Grace in the Flood. This is where all those threads, the hope, the prophecy, the faith, they all come together in the story of Noah. So you can see the progression, right? You have Enoch, who walked with God and escaped death. Then you have Lamech, who's looking forward, hoping for a son to bring comfort. And then you get Noah, who is the culmination of all that hope, the one who found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And this is just a brilliant picture of the central theme of this whole genealogy. It's saying, look, yes, judgment is real. The flood makes that crystal clear. But even inside that story of judgment, God is weaving this thread of salvation. He's providing a way forward for the person who, just like his great-grandfather Enoch, chooses to walk a different path. So what started out looking like a boring list of names turns out to be this incredibly deep story about our condition and God's response to it. And it kind of leaves us with this question to chew on, right? In a world that seems stuck in its own repeating destructive patterns, what does it actually mean for you and me to break the cycle and choose to walk a different path?